Yo, Sanjay Uchiha here, people, giving you my review on Boruto Naruto Next Generations Episode 2, episode titled The Son of the Hokage. Now, I must say, people, in this episode, we get our first real fight in the Boruto series, as well as some other underlying themes that I'm sure will help to set the stage for the series all the way through to its end. But before we get into it, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I do Naruto content, Dragon Ball content, Samurai Jack. So, pushing that subscribe button helps. Like, share this video out, tell me what you think, and let's get into it. So, this episode really and truly deals with Boruto actually returning from his 2 week suspension from school as a result of his, based on how last episode ended with him running the train into the Hokage monument. So yeah, so it really dealt with him coming back to school, interacting with his classmates, and the dynamic between him and his classmates in the sense that his classmates really, I wouldn't say they don't like him, but they view him, the Hokage's son, as riding on his coattails, quote unquote. And I must say it was refreshing to see in this episode that Boruto is really, he didn't really succumb to the pressure, succumb to the the gossip and the people murmuring all around him in the form of his classmates, that is. So it was kind of refreshing to see that he's pretty strong-willed for probably like an 80-year-old thereabouts. I'm estimating. Eh. But yeah, so one thing that was pretty recurring in this episode, and I feel will be a recurring theme throughout, is that when you go into the episode, based on how it starts, they talk about the Ninja Academy and how, years gone by, like initially it was a place to, foster Shinobi for for Konoha, obviously. But now with the times changing, or have changed already, it now includes a lot of other subjects to make students, more all-rounded. um Really and truly, it really is a sign of change, and that we are at a time of peace. That was what it really echoes. But getting into it, moving on, I'll kind of revisit this theme of the new era, this change, because it's really echoed in the episode as well, especially through the fight that we get. So, moving on. So people are, students, they feel that Naruto, Naruto, they feel that Boruto is really riding on the coattails of Naruto. They feel that he can get away with a lot of stuff. They compare his situation to if they were in this situation, they'd probably be sent to prison, stuff like that, really and truly. And Boruto, being the confident and strong-willed guy he is, knowing what he stands for, knowing what he represents, and what he really puts to the table as a person, he obviously, it was just refreshing to see that he didn't really have to talk back to them. He have to say, hey, whatever, stop talking shit about me. It was cool to see. um of course, we get to see Chocho and Sarada and this purple hair girl, which I believe is a class rep in this episode. And I must say, Chocho's presence was pretty. I mean, she didn't have a big part in the episode, but her presence was refreshing. And it will be refreshing later on throughout this series. You'll see. Based on source material that we have. But yeah, so getting into it, so we get a few exercises of where Boruto is concerned. They're assessing his performance, and we get to find out he's ranked second in the class, only beaten by this guy named Iwabe. That apparently he's pretty good ninjutsu and taijutsu wise, but grades wise, he's not making the, the cut, to say the least. So we get to understand that he's failed to graduate twice, and that's saying something. But we eventually find out the reason for this as we get into a conflict between him and Boruto, where he feels, like everybody else, Boruto's riding off the tails of the whole Kage, and he really doesn't possess the strength to do stuff on his own. So it eventually leads into a fight between the two, and thus we actually get the first real fight of the Boruto series, which, um, I mean, comparing to the fights of old, like, I mean, the last few parts of Naruto itself, I mean, obviously it wouldn't really hold a candle to them, but for what it's worth, we had a lot of not throwbacks, like shoutouts to early fights in Naruto, especially the bell test, because we get to see Boruto and Iwabe go hand to hand. And if you watch the episode just like me, you would realize that some of the combos that Boruto pull off are reminiscent of what Sasuke would have done. You know that combo that Sasuke did against Kakashi when he was like the 1, 2, like punch, and then flip around and kick, and then try to grab the bell. Yeah, we got that. So that was a nice throwback there to, the old days. I'm liking what they're doing here. Um, Art wise, I believe the episode, just before I continue, art wise episode was alright. I mean, it looked kind of wonk. Well, the quality dropped a bit for some of the scenes, especially in the fight where the fighting is concerned. So I have to kind of point that out. Um, but yeah, we get to see Boruto, pulling out his stuff, Shadow Clone Jutsu. I mean, it's obvious from this fight that Iwabe is the superior fighter, but it's really through Iwabe's dialogue with Boruto that one of the underlying themes of this episode is brought forth, and I'd say it will more than likely be a theme, not even underlying, but probably a theme that is really put towards the viewer throughout this entire series. Because in a sense, we kind of got it at the start of this, when at the start of the series, when we had a flash forward of Kawaki saying the age of Shinobi is over, and this, in a sense, probably is a theme that's been put out even before Boruto's time, ever since the war ended and we've had times of peace. In the sense that it's the true purpose. Is there a real purpose for Shinobi anymore, really and truly? Because Iwabe believes that power is everything. Power will help him rise through the ranks. He admires Naruto and a lot of the shinobi from of old who especially fought in the war on the front lines, which he mentions 10 years ago. So that gives us a good idea of the timeline here, because we know that this is 10 years ago and Naruto was 17 in the war. So I'm guessing Naruto's about 27 now. So can I give a decent gauge of how old Boruto is? So it's probably about 8. So I like that. That edited the episode. But I digress. Yeah, so the point is, the whole point of Shinobi at this point, and it really speaks to, is the age of Shinobi really over, really and truly? I mean, they helped him maintain peace and all, but eh. But yeah, continuing into what Iwabe was saying, and that yeah, power is instrumental in rising through the ranks, and that's how he believes that's how Naruto and everyone else did it back in the day. And he's really upset that the change in the times have affected how the academy is run as well, which is preventing his rise through the ranks, because he believes that if it was like back in the day, in Naruto's day, he would have graduated already, which is true, I'd say. So the change in the times is really affecting him there. I'll get back to it. So let's just finish on what we got in the episode. So eventually we get some decent exchanges and decent scenes here between Boruto and Iwabe. Boruto's pulling out his shadow clone, strategizing. Iwabe, we get to some substitution jutsus there. Boruto fooling with some shadow clones there. But eventually Boruto does manage to beat him in hand to hand. nothing too dramatic. He just manages to catch him off guard once, and on the second time, he actually manages to land a few hits, decent hits. Of course, Iwabe decides to go for his weapon, but it was decided before the battle that there would be no weapon. So Inojin was an instrumental part in this episode as well. This is Sai's and Ino's son, that is. He basically calls off, well, not really calls off, but he takes Iwabe's weapon, and Iwabe basically calls off the fight. Um, it was really in the fight that Boruto was saying as well that, Iwabe should just keep trying no matter how many times he fails. Stop blaming the times for his problems, and just get his shit together. So after that, we see that through the fight, Boruto's classmates get a newfound respect for him. Iwabe starts coming back to class, and Inojin, who at the start of this episode didn't really respect Boruto, and also believed that he was just riding off the coattails of Naruto, really they've got a newfound respect for him. So things come full circle by the time the episode ends, which is alright here, of course. So that's your episode, really and truly. Um, it was a decent episode, I must say. Especially if you caught the underlying themes, as I mentioned, which are the real role of Shinobi at this point, and um, all right, let me let me get it straight together, because it's kind of, I don't want to get misinformed people, but yeah, it really delved with the whole role of Shinobi, the age of Shinobi. It kind of portrays that recurring theme to us, the viewers. Um, of course, I said Boruto's strong will was pretty refreshing. I didn't really have a problem here. I really just like how he's just he's just chill, man. He's chill. He's confident. You know what he represents as a character. So I think characterization in this episode was pretty pretty good. I like the nodbacks to part one. That definitely added to the episode. Boruto, as I said, the themes are there. The whole role of Shinobi, the change in times, um, and that will be, as I said, a recurring theme throughout. Boruto really, as the title of the anime itself, really deals with the next generations and how people and the role of Shinobi will adapt to the changing times. That, I think that's the best way to put it. The role of Shinobi when, I mean, their core job, it just feels like they're not necessary anymore. So I think the main theme that will be put throughout the remainder of the series, and it's really implied that it will be, is the role of Shinobi in a new time where they're not necessary. And for what it's worth, I think that's really added to the quality of the episode, if you really know how to dissect and, I guess, digest that. As I said, that's been put out since the flash forward, and I think it really adds to the episode. So this, for me, I know I said last week one was like a 8 point something in terms of rating for me, but I think I'd take that back, and I'll probably drop episode one to about a 7 point. I think I can give it a 7.8, and I think I could give this one a 7 point. I Yeah, I think a 7.5. I think that's fair because the quality dropped a bit in some shots as far as the animation art's concerned. But that's it for this one, people. So if you like this review, let me know what you think. Share this video out. Rate, comment, subscribe. I might do a video getting my words more clear regarding that theme that I keep mentioning throughout this review is concerned. So watch out for that. Probably over the weekend though. So look out for that, but definitely by the weekend. So this is Sanjay Uchiha, people. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you think.